Oh, hi, how you doing? I didn't see you there. Glad you came in. I was just remembering that story you were telling me, wonderful story, about you had a client, you were working at that accounting firm, and your client, Katie, is a caterer. And she has this nice business catering food. And matter of fact, she called you and said, listen, I got a problem. And you said, what's the problem? She was in a fury. She didn't know what to do. Well, what happened? I asked, what happened? Well, apparently she had that very evening an event at the governor's mansion. Cater a whole bunch of people, the VIPs and the council and all kinds of wealthy donors, etc. Has to make a good impression. Well, what's the problem? Well, apparently she buys her fish from Fred. Fred's her fish guy who goes down to the shore, delivers the fish, gets the fish. Okay, well, what happened? Well, Fred called her and said, listen, we got a problem. On the way back to the shore, the guy who drives the truck determined that the air conditioning unit went out. Now, when they catch the fish, they put them on ice right away, and he buys them, and he puts them in his refrigerated truck. But the driver said the refrigeration unit went out. He called Fred. Fred said, get that stuff on ice. Go to the store, get some ice, put it on. Okay, so now when he got back, he called Katie and said, listen, I don't know the status of these. I don't know if the fish, got defrosted, if they went bad. This is more your department than mine, but I wanted you to examine the fish because I don't want to sell you bad fish. Besides, I also sell that fish to supermarkets and other people in the area. You're just taking a sample. So Katie said, all right, well, let me see what to do. He said, listen, there's 2,000 fish on the truck. Now, as you know, normally there's about 2% bad fish anyway. They're fish. Some of them just aren't so good to eat, That's how much it is, usually 2% perhaps. Now, I'll let you take some of those fish and smell them and sample them and fry them up, and you test it out. I'm not going to charge you for those. You're going to kind of be my quality control person. And if you determine they're fine, nobody's going to pay for those fish that I'll eat that, for those fish that are fried up and tested. And if you think they're good, we'll sell you your quantity of fish, and I'll sell the rest to my other people of fish. However, if you say they're no bad, I'm just going to sell it to this factory that mulches it up and sells it out for manure for the farmers. I think they use it for. And she said, so Katie said, well, how many fish do you think I can take? And he said, I'm not sure how many, but don't make it too big. Because if it's too big, I'm just going to take the whole thing and take the whole truck and take it out to the manure place and let them do everything. So Katie says, okay, I think I understand what you're saying, Fred. Let me check, with my accounting guy and accounting person, I should say, and I'll get back to you. And that's why they called you, right? That's why they called you. That was the story, right? And I said, well, and what did you do? I can't remember what you told me what you did. So, well, you said, what you're going to have to do is go out to a website called calculator.net. And I said, a website, okay, I never heard of it, Well, you said, well, we're going to be using statistics. Oh, statistics, okay, great, I'm not great on the statistics, but I know you'll walk me through it so I can understand it. Give me a chance, just a minute. Let me get my thinking cap on. Okay, so I said to you, all right, explain to me what you did again. And you said, okay, well, we're going to go to calculator.net. Here, up here on the screen, I can show you right here what this is. So over here, you went to this calculator.net to math and to sample size calculator. And there's a bunch of screens. Now, you populated initially a 95% confidence level. And initially, you populated a margin of error of 5%. We know that the population is normally 2%. That's what we're testing for, right? 2%. And the population size, in this case, there was 2,000 fish on the truck, right? So you populated 2,000. You click calculate, and it comes up with a sample size of 30. So, okay, I think I get that. All right, so you're just going to examine 30 fish. Is that what it means? And you said, well, sure, yeah, that's what it means. But let's vary some of those other variables and see what it looks like now. So you said, okay, all right, well, let's take a look. So what happens if we put in a confidence level of 99% and a margin of error of 1%? We still got the 2% population and the 2,000 population size. You click calculate and you get a sample size of 790. So I said, well, now what you do? That's a big difference between 30 and 790. I don't understand where you go from here. Why is it such a large spread? And so you said, well, okay, we have to understand some of these variables, such as the confidence level. Here, let me put this up here so you can see this. So the confidence level means, as a 95% confidence level means that if you had this situation on 100 different days or 100 different situations, 100 different times, 95 of those days, the statistical result that you conclude would be correct. And on 5 of those days, your conclusion will be incorrect. You would have a type 1 or a type 2 error. 5 times out of 100, 50 times out of 1,000, your conclusion is going to be wrong. A 99% confidence level means that if you had this situation on 100 different days, 100 different occasions, that 99 of those days, the statistical result that you concluded will be correct. And on just 1 of those days, your conclusion will be incorrect. You would have a type 1 or a type 2 error. 1 time out of 100, 10 times out of 1,000, your conclusion is going to be wrong. Okay, so Katie chose, she looked at this and she said, well, this seems kind of serious to me. How about if we choose a 99% confidence level? Okay, so you're telling me Katie chose 95%. Yeah, that's what she chose. All right, what's about this margin of error stuff? Can you refresh my memory on what that means? Yeah, let me show you right here. So the margin of error is the range that your actual result of the entire population is. So a 5% margin of error means that the population proportion of bad fish will equal the sample proportion plus or minus 5%. And a 1% margin of error means that the population proportion of bad fish is going to be equal to the sample proportion plus or minus 1%. Okay? Okay, I think I understand that. Anything else we need to consider here? We talked about, confidence level, margin of error. Anything else we got to talk about here? Well, yeah, let's talk about right up here. Let me show you this. So your fish is either going to be good and acceptable or bad and unacceptable. It's a whole unit. You really can't have like 1 2/3 bad fish, right? What the heck is that? How are you going to evaluate that? We need a whole unit. So since you're testing for 2% bad fish, you take the inverse of 2%. That's 1 divided by 0.02. That equals 50. So you're going to test in multiples of 50. You're going to test 50 or 100 or 150 or 200 or 250. I said, okay, I understand that. We're going to test in multiples of 50. Okay, go ahead, go on, I'm with you. Okay, so next thing you need to find out is the margin of error. We looked at those margin of error before. We put in 1% or 5%. Let's back into a margin of error based on a sample size that's a multiple of 50. So on that calculator.net, there's another screen right below the first screen we looked at. And in here, it gives you the margin of error. You populate the other data, and it gives you the margin of error. Okay, here, I'll show you this. Take a look at this. So you put in a confidence level of 99%. That's what Katie suggested. And let's take a sample size of 100, for example. You put in your 2%, you put in your 2,000, you calculate, boom. It comes up with 3.52%. So you told me you did that for a whole bunch of different sample sizes. You loaded in 50, 100, 150, 200, 250. You clicked on it and you got the margin of error in each of those. And you put it into an Excel spreadsheet. So I said, yeah, I know you really like those Excel spreadsheets. Tell me what you did. Let me see this. You're getting a little complicated. Dumb it down for me. Well, okay, I'll show you the spreadsheet. It's right here. So you look at it. It looks kind of intimidating, but I'll walk you through it. Across the top, they're all 99%. Your sample size, we varied at, 1, 150, 200, 250, 300, 350. Once again, we got 2% bad is what we're hoping, to go. Population size is 2,000. And it spit out the margin of error. 3.52%, 2.84%, 2.42%. As your sample size increases, your margin of error goes down. And then I just dropped in the sample size as a population of the proportion. That's how much that Fred's going to lose, by giving you, letting you sample as fish. And then the maximum number of bad fish. If your criteria is 5%, if your criteria is 4%, if your criteria is 3%, this is the minimum number of fish. So let me, walk that through you. So for example, say for instance, if for example, Katie chooses the right-hand most example, 350 bad fish, okay? And let's say she's choosing, a 4% confidence level. Let's say, for instance, she's choosing a 4% confidence level. What's the maximum number of fish? Well, if she had 7 fish that were bad, 7 divided by 350, that's the sample size, that means 2% of her sample's bad, 0.02. Up here we see her margin of error is 1.75. That means the margin of error is going to be plus or minus 1.75. Her sample was 2. So the actual population is going to be either 0.25 all the way up through 3.75. Now, at the high end, that's just a hair below 4%. That's the most good fish you can have, bad fish you can have, is 7%. Okay. So what did Katie decide? So Katie said, listen, we already selected the 99%. Katie said, I'll accept 5% bad fish. And I think we'll take 150 sample size. I don't want to make it too big because I don't want, the fish guy, Fred, to say, listen, that's too high. So she picked a number that was more on the low side that she thought, Fred would go along with. And she selected 5%. So, okay, so it's up here on the screen. Here you can see we highlighted this out. And in that criteria, right there, boom, at a 5% level, that equals 3%. Okay, I think I get it. So tell me again what this, 3 fish or what do we do now? So you said, look, it's up here on the board. So our recommendation is if 3 fish or less are bad, you're going to accept the shipment. If 0, 1, 2, or 3 are bad fish, you accept the shipment. And if 4 or more are bad, you're going to reject the shipment. You have to tell Fred, sorry, take them away. I'm not buying your fish. We conclude that 99 times out of 100, using our criteria of accepting 3 or less and rejecting 4 or more, our conclusion will be correct, on a sample of 150 in our example. However, the other 1 time out of 100, we will either reject a shipment that has less than 5% bad fish, which is a type 1 error, or accept a shipment that had more than 5% fish, a type 2 error. That's our risk that we have to take because it's a sample. I said, okay, that's really fascinating. I would have had no idea how to do something like that. And you use a methodical process. You use the calculator to calculator.net. You set up an Excel spreadsheet. You had to make some decision criteria of, what you wanted to select as far as, size, etc. And you came to a conclusion. I said, that's great. How'd it work out? You said it worked out really well. As it turns out, Katie said she found 2 bad fish. She was able to accept it. She had a great dinner. She told Fred about what, happened. Fred was pleased. He was able to sell the rest to his normal, customers and purveyors. And as a matter of fact, the place, like I say, the dinner went well. The VIPs, the governor was all pleased with Katie's stuff. And as a matter of fact, Fred said, you know what, that's really interesting what he does. Can I use your friend because I need to test for my other seafood? And I want to test perhaps for some fruits and vegetables. Can you help me with that? So I said, so you got a new client now? He said, yeah, actually I got a new client out of that. I said, wow, that is great. That is why you are one ace accountant. All right, let's give you a round of applause. All right. All right, see you later. All right, bye-bye.